One day, in around about the late 70s, when we were on the weekly walk in the French Charterhouse, the prior was talking about some evil genius and how in his domain he was actually quite good. How burglary can become a fine art. But he added this comment: oui, on peut gagner beaucoup de mérite pour l'enfer. Yes, one can acquire a lot of merit for hell. One day, about 3 years ago, I was taking 2 guests that had been sent to me from the prayer group I used to have in Siena to the local museum. And at a certain point, we were confronted with all the models of artillery under the sun. You know where I mean. The area where Cromwell had all his glory. Drogheda, Millmount Museum, that thing on the top of Drogheda, full of military history. And as we looked at these instruments, we had a few thoughts together. And at a certain point, we got to 2 full-sized reproductions of men, not exactly in armour, but in very noble attire. Can you guess what they were up to? Well, they were actually about to sort out once and for all time the point of honour. The point of honour. You know what that means, don't you? Well, in those days, if you were of a certain class, you were not to be offended. And if you were, what would you do? You would take off your gauntlet and throw it on the ground. And your man showed his courage, or lack of, by picking it up. Then, at 6 o'clock in the morning, with a common judge, having first of all decided on the instrument of eventual dispatch, either the sword or the newly invented pistol, they would take about 10 or 12 pieces, and at one point, which would decide all eternity, they had to turn and blast the other man's brains into the beyond. One chance. And as we looked at these instruments of dispatch, thoughts came to us. Honour. Honour. Now, as I was coming here, I had to call on friends in RD, because a friend there repairs habits and things which are on the brink. And because they are practically next door to a point of history where that happened, some thoughts came to me which I would like to share with you. There, near where some of you live, in RD, there is a strange church where honour was sought. Can any of you guess which church I mean? You're at the top there. Ah, you know, the jumping church. Things happen in Ireland which don't happen elsewhere. You know the story, don't you? Yes. It was a gentleman, a knight of arms, who wanted his honour. And so did his friends and family. But he was not, in the eyes of Almighty God, terribly honourable, it would seem. For, according to the story, he had died without the sacraments and possibly even excommunicated. There was something, as we would say, some unfinished business. Honour. However, the family had a certain influence in the area, and so it seems that they found a means of getting around the problem of excommunication and having him buried within the precincts of the church. And you know what happened, don't you? Yeah. overnight, at least one wall, the one that he was next to, jumped. And it's still there, in complete diagonal, without foundations. But that perpetual miracle is a loud word for all mankind, that no matter how glorious one's funeral, and whoever wins the duel or gets the highest marks at the exam, or the score on the Gaelic field which leads to cosmic glory, the last word is yet to come. And it hit me, my friends, that perpetual miracle of the wall hanging nowhere is something actually which perhaps we could take away with us. Why? It, as does every bit of death chiseled into the tomb, contains a whole, now what? History on that side and eternity on the other. For a tomb is a milestone between time and eternity. Just this morning, I was coming back from my weekly confession at 9 in the morning from the parish church, and as I was passing by the graves, which are just in front of the hermitage, which is the old monastery, as I always do, because the priest, when he's passing a grave, traditionally does, as in the old Requiem Mass, it's not that that starts the old Requiem, it's that. Requiem aeternam dona eis Domine, et lux perpetua lucia eis. By the way, if you do that prayer in English or Latin, you gain an indulgence for the deceased every time. Remember that, because if you do it every hour, clock up at the end of your life how many souls you've helped by the hour. When the bell rings, it stops you also from carrying on too quickly through life, pausing every hour when the bell chimes. It's no practice. Anyway, I did that as I was passing, but I just happened to catch sight of a grave, because I don't normally care who's in there, because they're just people gone into the beyond. But just one word as I was coming away just caught my eye. It was only one word, but it hit me. It was just this word. I didn't stop to read anything else. The word died. This lady, whoever she was, I think her name was Teresa, died, and it hit me. That moment, henceforth, that's your experience, Teresa. You're in that death. That state of not being alive anymore tomorrow time, and you've gone, and you're still there somewhere. You've carried your story. And as I was coming out of confession, it hit me. Isn't it great to come out of confession and know that if we die, we're okay? We hope. How many are not assured when they go through life that if they die, they'll end up on the right side? Because all the rest is completely secondary. Even worldwide glory, what is it compared with the state of grace? I just finished with a reference to the first reading, because why did perhaps that night end up on the wrong side? Probably because of what St. Paul is talking about. You know the little saint of Fatima, the youngest beatified saint in the church, Jacinta. She had intuitions, and she was asked before she died in a hospital bed, what was the sin that most upset Almighty God? And straight away, even though she didn't know what it meant, she said, the sin of the flesh. What St. Paul is talking about. We know that together with the sin of pride, is the big weight that draws souls down. I'll just quote, I'm not sure how much, a few lines anyway, of this which I wrote while struck by this perpetual miracle of the jumping church. Are you sitting comfortably? Now take it in, because remember, every time you pass a grave, you're facing that reality. There's someone there, somewhere, for every grave you see. And one day, you'll be there too. This is a land where strange things combine their ways, where day is a work too quickly done, and bid us not think lightly on a stone hewn once to hold a guard, where plod would yet a soul not blessed or shriven, that could not own a place on earth or sky. Nay, we forget that moments linger on yond this long wall that severs time asunder. Blunders here cost aeons of old hurt, that age shall call from age to dawning age, where little fear is known, where known is little of the blaze, swift kindled, yet ne'er dwindled in its day.